Hi, I'm Greg Hunter. This is the weekly news wrap-up for Friday, January 24th, 2014. My top story is Syria and the peace talks going on in Geneva, Switzerland. They're calling it Geneva, too. But before the second round of peace talks even started, listen to this. UN disinvites Iran to Syrian peace talks. I mean, who's running the show? You're trying to have a peace talk with all the players and the people who are in there fighting and funding it and all that, and then you uninvite someone? I mean, it just sounds to me like that's a bit of a diplomatic boo-boo. It sounds like the West doesn't have it together. The reason why Iran was disinvited, according to published reports, is because Iran wouldn't agree that removing Bashar al-Assad, the president of Syria, from power should be part of any peace plan. So they get invited, and it's like you can be invited as long as you agree to what we want you to do. Wow, that's a funny way to negotiate. The peace plan is no peace plan. I say that this is nothing more than name-calling and posturing. Even the press calls these Syrian peace talks, get off to belligerent start. Belligerent, that's kind. I mean, this is nothing more than name-calling and accusations back and forth by both sides. The Syrian foreign minister said, and I quote, I'm going to read this to you, the West claims to fight terrorism publicly while they feed it privately. There are al-Qaeda fighters with the Syrian rebels. Some people say between 25 and 50%. Some of the UK newspapers say about half. Even John Kerry said it was, up to 25% are al-Qaeda. I mean, al-Qaeda is so heavily involved in Syria that even John McCain had his picture taken with top al-Qaeda fighters in Syria when he was there last year. Secretary of State John Kerry says, and I quote, it's no way possible in the imagination, end quote, that the Syrian President Assad should be allowed to stay in power. Kerry also said Assad is a, quote, one-man super magnet for terrorism. These are not peaceful. They're not heading towards any kind of peace. This is posturing. Kerry and the Obama administration have long said Assad should go, but remember last year Vladimir Putin pulled a fast one and he cut a deal where, hey, well, let's just remove the chemical weapons, and war was averted. Now we're back to, Assad has to go. As any part of a peace plan, Assad has to go, and the Iranians and the Russians aren't going along, and as far as I'm concerned, this is nothing more than a setup for more war. That they're not going to have a peace plan, and the war is going to intensify. There's already talk by the Obama administration of, funding those al-Qaeda fighters even more. Excuse me, the Free Syrian Army. Giving them even more, money and weapons to fight and remove Assad from power. The Iranians aren't going to back down. They know that after Syria falls, the plan is they're going to take out Iran. They're going to fight tooth and nail right there. That's the line. Boom. Russia, the same thing. Listen, they'd have kicked Assad out in 3 weeks if the Russians weren't involved. The Russians with offensive weapons, with a navy that could be in the eastern Mediterranean. The Russians have a port in Tartus. They have, they can take on the U.S. They can take on the West. And it wouldn't be clean, easy, and like Libya. It'd be ugly and messy, and there'd be a lot of loss of life if this gets out of control. And I think this is nothing more than an announcement of more war. And it could spin out of control. This is solidifying more war, and this is a civil war that has already claimed the lives of 130,000 Syrians and displaced more than 7 million. This is a giant, colossal mess, and there is no end in sight. Keep an eye on it. Meanwhile, Israel stopped an attack on our embassy there. This was an al-Qaeda foiled attack, and it was an attack that it would be a bombing to blow up the U.S. embassy in Tel Aviv. Foiled. They stopped it, the Israelis. And, I just want to understand something. I want to understand why that nobody in the White House press corps will ask this question. Hey, excuse me, Jay Carney, could you tell me which is the bad al-Qaeda? The ones that want to blow us up and the ones we kill with the Predator drones. And then would you tell us the good al-Qaeda, the ones we want to arm in Syria and places like, Libya to overthrow Gaddafi? Could you tell us the difference? Nobody will ask that question. It's obvious. It is blatantly obvious. It also looks like the deal to curtail Iran's nuclear program is also on very shaky ground. How can the Obama administration misinterpret this is what my question. You know, one CNN anchor, Fareed Zakaria, he called it a, quote, train wreck, end quote. Iranian President Hassan Rouhani told CNN, not under any circumstances, again, not under any circumstances, he said it twice, would they destroy any key parts of a nuclear program such as centrifuges. Centrifuges are a key component of enriching uranium needed for peaceful and, offensive nuclear weapons. They're not dismantling it. They're not. And the other thing is that, in order for this, curtailment of the Iranian nuclear program, wouldn't you need, a couple of decades of inspections and lots of destruction of these centrifuges? Rouhani, no, we're not doing that. How could the Obama administration miss something this big? How could they misinterpret what the Iranians would or would not do? And this is being said in Davos, Switzerland, to CNN. It's not just posturing for the folks back home. This is on a world stage in Davos, Switzerland, the Economic Forum. This is Hassan Rouhani saying, we're not dismantling anything. We're not going to destroy anything. We're going to continue. Now, the Iranians have long said their nuclear programs for the peaceful production of energy of the West, including the U.S., says, no, we're not buying that. Countries like Saudi Arabia have made some threats. They've also are in the process of or have already acquired nuclear weapons. Israel also is fearful and have made threats about this program. And the reason why they're fearful, they're afraid that Iran will get a nuclear weapon and upset the balance of power in the Middle East. And maybe this is why Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said just this week, and I quote, Iran's military nuclear program must be stopped, and Iran's military nuclear program will be stopped. Again, that's not an idle threat. They haven't heard much from Israel for a while, and boom, out comes Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, and he makes a pretty definitive and bold statement. And I would say the prospects of a peaceful solution to Iran's nuclear program look pretty dim right about now. On one side, you have Syria, and that's not going to be settled anytime soon. On the other side of the Middle East, you have Iran and its nuclear program, and countries like Saudi Arabia and Israel not keen on it and have threatened to attack Iran. If there's not war in 2014 in the Middle East, it will be divine intervention by God. If there is war in the Middle East, you can betcha everybody in the world is going to feel it, and it's going to affect everyone without question. And it's going to be negative, highly negative. And I think it will turn nuclear if we do have a war in the Middle East. And it'll involve, just about everybody in the world. That's a very dangerous situation, and both situations in Syria and Iran look like both sides are digging in, and there's going to be no peaceful movement to settle either one of those conflicts. How can there not be war? I don't hope for it. I don't want anybody to be attacked, and I don't want anybody to attack. But how can you not come to the conclusion that war is more than just a remote possibility? Obamacare is in big trouble, and it might take down some big insurance companies. Moody's, the rating service, has given a negative outlook, a downgrade to the entire health care industry. Why? Because of Obamacare. Listen to this quote from Moody's. I'll read it. If these things don't work, it may have a longer, more detrimental effect on the health insurance industry. You think if people's premiums go up way up and they can't afford insurance, or the government can't afford the subsidies, you think that might have a long-term detrimental effect? Or if the insurance companies can't get paid because the website can't figure out the subsidies and pay the insurance companies and make the thing work? And not to mention, who is going to pay for these subsidies? We're just going to go to a subsidy tree and pick them off and everybody gets a deal? This is a disaster. Not only could this bankrupt insurance company, it could eventually bankrupt the country. Accenture has been hired to try to go in and fix healthcare.gov, the website. That's a daunting task. They're getting $90 million. They have to do it by supposedly mid-March, and there are at least around, according to experts, 500 million lines of code to fix or to add. 500 million, 500 million lines of code have to be done by mid-March. What was this other company doing for the last 3 years? Now we have, 6-8 weeks to get this thing fixed? On one government website, there was a document that said, if this can't get fixed by mid-March, quote, the healthcare law may be jeopardized. That's a pretty big statement. It's on a government website. That's what the government says. You think the Obamacare debacle could affect the debt ceiling? You think the Obama administration will ask for tons more money if health insurance companies, which are supposed to be protected by law, by this law, from imploding, they'll be bailed out? Do you think that they'd ask for a lot more money than what for this debt ceiling? What's the world going to say if we ask for we need $2.5 trillion this year, and we need another couple of trillion next year? We need $5 trillion in the next couple of. I don't know. Who knows? What's the rest of the world going to say? Well, oh my gosh, you're going to even go deeper into debt. You're not paying anything off. You're not cutting anything. Do you think that they're going to ask for more money? Do you think the Republican Congress is going to give it to them? Do you think this could end really badly? Do you think this could hurt the country? Oh, you know it. I had one liberal friend of mine say, well, we had 50 million people we need to insure. You don't bankrupt the country. You don't. Maybe you give a catastrophic policy where you don't get free abortion and free pap smears and free birth control pills and free prenatal care. You just have, hey, if you get cancer, you get in a wreck, you get sick, you pay you have a catastrophic policy. There'll be some deductibles and co-pays. You pay 100, 150, whatever, not this. I mean, you don't bankrupt America so somebody gets a good deal. Somebody gets health care. There's no wonder why President Obama's poll ratings are in the tank. According to a recent poll, the most recent poll, that a lot of people think the government, Obama administration, dishonest. They don't believe them. This is after you can have your health care policy, you can have your doctor, you can keep your doctor, you can keep your policy. Oh, it'll be cheaper. For most people, it's not cheaper. No. It's not cheaper. And what about the estate recovery? They raise the ability for the middle class to get into Medicare, Medicaid, and, that's right, there is a state recovery in Medicaid. So now the middle class, your mama had a house. No, she didn't. We won it. Yeah. She had health care. She was in Medicaid. Yeah, we get the house. You can't have it. It can't be handed down in your family. We want even more poor people after this is all over, that the middle class can't acquire assets. Poor people can't acquire any assets. You can't hand them down. You can't give a house or a farm for, you got forced into, sorry. State recovery. It's unbelievable they got this through. Well, we have to vote for it to see what's in it, as Nancy Pelosi famously said when she was the majority leader in the House of Representatives. She was Speaker of the House. That we got to vote for it to see, well, we're seeing what's in it. And there's no wonder why Democrats want to, they want to change. They don't want to talk about the IRS scandal, which no charges are going to be filed. Somebody should be fired for that, at least fired. But there ought to be charges. I mean, this is an affront to the First Amendment. They were using the IRS as a political tool to thwart any adversaries on the other side, the Tea Party, Benghazi, the reporter scandals. Fast and Furious, Obamacare disaster. Oh, yeah, the Democrats want to change the vernacular. They want to talk about minimum wage and income inequality. Really, income inequality? Really? How about we cut off the $35 billion a month? That's the official number. The real number is much higher. How about the cut off the $35 billion a month that each and every month you're giving to the bankers in a backdoor bailout to buy their mistakes and fraud? You want income inequality? There's $420 billion a year. How about that? How about we cut that off? You know, listen, according to new polls, people don't care about income inequality. They care about having a job, and they care about the economy. And both those aren't doing well at all. And, you know, the mainstream media, instead of reporting these mind control headlines where they constantly, badger you and constantly, show you these imageries and this thought control that, oh, things are getting better. Here, I've just got a few headlines for you here. A home building recovery is uneven. It's a recovery. Did you hear about the latest numbers? Dismal in the housing sector. Recovery. Oh, and how about this? Mayors are optimistic on the economy. Really? Most city and state pensions are underfunded. Most states, some of the biggest states in the nation have some of the most red ink. New Jersey, California, Illinois, New York. I mean, they're drowning in debt. We're optimistic. Did you hear about Detroit? We're optimistic. Here you go. CEOs. We got to progress this here. Yeah. CEOs see brighter global economy. Really? You see, let's see. We have phony accounting that's been in place since 2009. We have the $75 billion a month they stated what the Fed says they're doing to prop up the economy. If we had a recovery, we wouldn't have to have 0% interest rates, robbing people of their savings. $75 billion a month as a backdoor bailout to Wall Street. It's really much higher than that. According to one of my sources, Fabian Calvo, it's 120, 125, $115 billion a month, well over $1 trillion a year. And if we really had a recovery, we wouldn't need to keep doing that to prop things up now, would we? The CEOs say brighter economic. Really? China has a heck of a debt bubble going on, a real estate problem. They're talking about their first default on May 31st of some debt that could, wreak havoc in markets around the world. It could cause bank runs in China. It could cause things to go haywire. But, things are going great. CEOs see a brighter future. They just can't keep hammering you with this recovery. You think it's better. Don't worry, it's better. It's not better. It's not better. And it's not doom and gloom to put out the overt, reportable facts. Hey, why isn't the mainstream media doing stories on this ongoing money laundering for drug cartels and terrorists? Why aren't they doing that? A whistleblower, Everett Stern, says that the money laundering for terrorists is still going on at HSBC. Stern worked at HSBC as an anti-money laundering expert for HSBC, and he's the guy that blew the whistle. Last year, HSBC admitted to laundering money for violent drug cartels and terrorists, and they paid almost a $2 billion fine. That's it. Glad we got that behind us. Really? You launder money for terrorists and there are no criminal charges? You launder money for violent drug cartels, no criminal charges? You just get to pay a fine? You launder money for terror. Isn't that treason? Where is the NSA, the FBI, the CIA? Where are they? Why aren't they stopping that? Why is it Dianne Feinstein up in arms about that? But we have to continue this spying. Really? You do? She knows that, what the outgoing NSA director, Keith Alexander, said when he was asked under oath, how many, of these Al-Qaeda attacks there's all this data collection stuff? 1, perhaps 2. And Edward Snowden, the whistleblower, Edward Snowden, who they call a leaker, he's been called a traitor. He's got multiple felonies put on him. He's hiding out. Russia is protecting our whistleblower. The Obama administration, no amnesty. No, he ought to come back here and face these felony. Really? He ought to face felony charges? No felony charges for laundering money for drug cartels or helping them, like subsidiary of Deloitte helped Standard Chartered launder money for terrorists? No criminal charges? Isn't that treason? Come on. That's the way I see it. I'm Greg Hunter. Thank you for supporting USA Watchdog with your comments and donations. Have a nice weekend.